The quantum gates of Station Meridian flickered with an eerie blue luminescence as Queen Salina materialized on the observation deck. Her crystalline form shimmered with barely contained fury, the prismatic edges of her body refracting the starlight into 1,000 angry colors. For 3 solar cycles, her daughters had been missing, vanished without trace from the royal quarters of their homeworld, Crystallia Prime. "Your Majesty," the station commander stammered, his antennae quivering with nervousness. "We've traced the signal to Habitat Ring 7, Section 12, but you should know, they're with a human." Salina's form pulsed with a dangerous crimson hue. Humans. Those soft-bodied, primitive creatures who had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. What business did her daughters have with such beings? She swept through the corridors with the fury of a solar storm, her royal guard struggling to keep pace. Station personnel pressed themselves against the walls as she passed, wisely avoiding the Queen's wrath. When she reached the designated habitat, she didn't bother with the door chime. With a gesture, the crystalline locks shattered and the door slid open. The sight that greeted her stopped the Queen in her tracks. There, on a worn human sleeping platform, lay Cariss, a human male with dark, tousled hair and the weathered features of a deep space trader. And curled up against him, nestled like precious gems in soft cloth, were her daughters, Lyra and Nova, their small crystalline forms pulsing with the gentle pink glow of contentment. "What is the meaning of this?" Salina's voice resonated through multiple frequencies, causing the habitat's windows to vibrate. Cariss jerked awake, his brown eyes widening as he took in the towering form of the crystalline queen surrounded by armed guards. To his credit, he didn't scramble away or disturb the sleeping children. Instead, he carefully, gently, shifted them onto the pillows before slowly sitting up. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice rough with sleep but respectful, "I can explain." "You will explain how you came to have my daughters." Salina advanced into the room, her form expanding with her rage. "You will explain why they are not in stasis pods as protocol demands for young crystallines away from their homeworld. You will explain." "Mama," a small, sleepy voice interrupted her. Little Lyra lifted her faceted head, her glow shifting from pink to confused purple. "Why are you shouting? You'll wake Nova." Too late. The younger daughter stirred, her tiny form beginning to pulse with distress at the tension in the room. Immediately, without thinking, Cariss reached over and placed his hand gently on her back, making a soft shushing sound. The gesture was so natural, so instinctive, that it gave Salina pause. Nova's glow settled back to peaceful pink. "Perhaps," Cariss said quietly, keeping his hand on the child, "we could speak outside. The little ones need their rest." Something in his tone, the genuine care, the protective instinct, made Salina reconsider her approach. She gestured to her guards to wait outside and followed Cariss to the habitat's small living area. Once the door to the sleeping quarters closed, Cariss ran a hand through his hair and sighed. "I found them 3 days ago, hiding in one of my cargo containers. I just left Crystallia Prime with a shipment of deuterium crystals. I heard crying, well, more like chiming coming from the hold." "They ran away," Salina said, the anger draining from her voice, replaced by something that sounded almost like defeat. "From their own home." "They were scared," Cariss said gently. "Lyra told me about the betrothal." Salina's form dimmed. The betrothal. Of course. In 3 months, Lyra would reach her awakening age and would be bonded to Prince Zephon of the Northern Crystalline Dynasty. It was an arrangement made when she was newly formed, a political alliance to prevent another refraction war. "It is our way," Salina said, but even to her own auditory sensors it sounded hollow. "Is it?" Cariss leaned against the wall, his expression thoughtful. "Because Lyra said she's never even met this prince. She said she wants to explore the galaxy to study xenobiology to understand other species. She said," he paused, seeming to search for the right words, "she said she doesn't want to be just a bridge between kingdoms. She wants to be herself." And what would a human know of royal duty? The words came out sharper than Salina intended. But Carice didn't flinch. Nothing about royal duty, he admitted, but I know something about being trapped by expectations. I was supposed to take over my family's mining corporation on Earth. They had my entire life planned out, what schools I'd attend, who I'd marry, which board meetings I'd sit in. He smiled sadly. I ran away too, bought a beat-up freighter with my inheritance and never looked back. And you've been alone ever since? Salina found herself asking, her anger replaced by curiosity. Mostly, Carice shrugged, but I'm free. I choose my own course, make my own mistakes, find my own happiness. He looked back toward the sleeping quarters. When I found your daughters, I planned to contact crystalline authorities immediately, but Lyra begged me not to. She said she just wanted a few days to feel what freedom was like, to see what other options existed. So you harbored fugitive princesses. I spent 3 days with 2 terrified kids who needed someone to tell them it would be okay, Carice corrected. I read them human stories about explorers and adventurers. I showed them star maps and let them dream about visiting distant worlds. I taught them a human card game. Badly, I might add. Lyra is devastating at poker for a being without a face. Despite everything, Salina felt a resonance of amusement ripple through her form. She moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars beyond. Their father, my mate, he dissolved in the last refraction war. I have ruled alone since then, trying to protect our people, trying to ensure no more wars, no more loss. The betrothal secures peace. At what cost? Carice asked quietly. Salina was silent for a long moment. In the reflection of the viewport, she could see the door to the sleeping quarters. Inside were her daughters, peaceful and safe with this strange human who had shown them more kindness than she had realized they needed. Your Majesty, Carice continued, I'm not saying throw away diplomacy or break important alliances, but those are children in there. Doesn't Lyra deserve a chance to have a childhood, to discover who she is before deciding who she'll become? The Northern Dynasty will not understand, Salina said. Then make them understand. You're a queen. You ended a war through marriage treaty. Can't you find another way to keep the peace? Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, anything that doesn't require sacrificing your daughter's autonomy. Salina turned from the viewport to study this human more carefully. He stood there in his sleeping clothes, his hair a mess, defending her daughters with the fierce protectiveness of a parent, despite having known them for only 3 days. Why did you do this? She asked. You could have simply turned them in, collected a reward, gone on with your trade routes. Carice smiled. Because Lyra asked me what freedom felt like and I realized she had no idea. That broke my heart. Every child should know freedom, Your Majesty, even princess children. The door to the sleeping quarters opened and Lyra emerged, her faceted form trying to project dignity despite her obvious anxiety. Mama, please don't be angry with Carice. He wanted to call you immediately. I made him promise not to. If you must punish someone, punish me. Salina felt something crack inside her crystalline heart, the rigid structure of duty and protocol that had held her together since her mate's death. She knelt down, her massive form somehow managing to seem smaller, more approachable. Come here, little light, she said softly. Lyra approached cautiously, and Salina wrapped her angular arms around her daughter, feeling the familiar pulse of their synchronized bioluminescence. I have been so focused on keeping you safe, Salina whispered, that I forgot to ensure you were happy. I don't want to marry Prince Zephon, Lyra said, her voice small but firm. I don't want to be a political tool. I want to matter for who I am, not what alliance I represent. I know, Salina pulled back, looking at both her daughters, for Nova had emerged as well, clinging to Carice's leg. I know, and I have been wrong. We will find another way. I promise you, little lights, we will find another way. Really? Hope flickered through Lyra's spectrum. Really? Salina stood, her form solidifying with new determination. She turned to Carice. Human, you have done my daughters a great service. You gave them sanctuary when they needed it, and you gave me the truth when I needed to hear it. Name your reward." Carice looked uncomfortable. "I don't need a reward, Your Majesty." "Nevertheless, you shall have one." Salina's form pulsed with decision. "I name you friend to the crown of Crystalia. You will have free passage through our space, first consideration for trade contracts, and most importantly," she paused, a note of warmth entering her multitonal voice, "you will be welcome in our palace. My daughters, it seems, have become quite attached to you." "Can he visit Mama?" Nova chimed in, her young voice hopeful. "Can he tell us more human stories?" "He can," Salina confirmed. "And perhaps, Carice the human, you might also serve as an advisor. It seems I need someone to remind me that even queens can learn from traders and children." Carice bowed his head, a grin spreading across his face. "It would be my honor, Your Majesty." As Salina prepared to leave with her daughters, Lyra ran back to Carice and wrapped her small form around his leg in a hug. "Thank you," she chimed, "for everything." "Anytime, kid," Carice said, ruffling the crystalline protrusions that passed for her hair. "Anytime." Queen Salina watched the exchange and realized that her daughters hadn't just found a human to hide with. They'd found someone who saw them as children first and princesses second. That, she understood now, was the rarest gift of all. As they walked through the station corridors toward the royal transport, Nova riding on Salina's shoulder and Lyra walking between them, the queen made silent vows. She would renegotiate the betrothal. She would give her daughters time to grow, to explore, to choose their own paths. And she would never again let duty blind her to what truly mattered. Not crowns or treaties or political alliances, but the happiness of those she loved most. Behind them, Carice watched from his habitat doorway, and Salina turned back one last time. "Until we meet again, friend Carice." "Until then, Your Majesty." As the quantum gates shimmered and carried them home, Salina held her daughters close and knew that everything had changed. Sometimes it took a human stranger to remind a crystalline queen what it meant to truly see.